You know what I am capable of.
She tell him watch not see home
Nobody like you. You know what my gang size is?
if this is what I do when you watch and see you know what I can do if you not to me if you drop dead in your yard me not see you cause me not ready.
Who really is my neighbor? The non-action by the police, the parish council, the public health department, and the public defender's office resulted in the fake vets increasing their boast while flexing their criminal muscles. As they hyped their psychological harassment, I decided to seek the intervention of legal agencies. However, all but one lawyer saw this as just squabbles between neighbors and suggested that as a first step, I should seek the assistance of the Dispute Resolution Foundation, a more economically viable approach. One lawyer suggested he would write a warning letter to the offensive family, but realized the police was aiding and abetting them when I explained how they responded in the presence of the police. Since they demonstrated no regard for the police, the warning letter would prove futile. In January 2014, I made contact with Mr. Bonmari at the Peace and Justice Center, the building from which the DRF operated in Spanish Town. As I explained to him the events and showed him my documentation, his immediate question to me was, "What are the police doing?" He then advised me that he would write the offending family a letter, and I could ask the assistance of the police to have the letter delivered. He explained that the purpose of the letter was to invite the other party to participate in a meeting and with the assistance of a mediator, try and resolve whatever issues were involved. Is that not what any decent, well-thinking person would do? I collected the letter on January 13, 2014, and these two police officers hand-delivered the letter. Please note why I asked these two officers. In December 2013, while preparing 2 roast breadfruits, the female fake vet and her associate, Miss Bev, started their psychological harassment. They began to loudly accuse me of lighting fire to smoke up clothes that was hung early by the fake vet and her mother. Miss Bev was only part of the gang reinforcement to make noise. I immediately called the police, who surprisingly came very quickly. They observed that the family was causing disturbance about smoke from roast breadfruit from a coal stove. The fake vet kept telling the police officers that the police are tired of me because I call them every single minute. She demonstrated that she was very familiar with the police thoughts and actions. Upon receiving the letter delivered by these two officers, what did the gang stalking family do? They laughed the letter to scorn. Around mid-April to the early part of May, I had called Mr. Bonwari to find out what was happening to my case. During the telephone conversation, he told me that Mr. Parchment had visited him and the next phase would be to convene a meeting. I'd asked him when would the meeting be. He suggested sometime in June or July. Immediately, I began putting my information together in preparation for the meeting. Lo and behold, I did not realize that this would be the last I would ever hear from Mr. Bonwari. As summer approached and passed, I observed the people increasing their vicious behavior, and I did not hear from the peace officer. I called the DRF to speak with him and my call was transferred to his supervisor, who then informed me that Mr. Banwari was murdered May 10, 2014. Having missed that news, I checked the information online as I could not believe what I heard. I then reflected on the sequence of events that preceded Mr. Banwari's murder and saw this interesting timeline. Allow me to walk you through selective events, and you can decide for yourself if these events are mere coincidence. Repetition for emphasis here. The letter from Mr. Banwari was collected on January 13, 2014 and hand-delivered by these two police officers. Just 4 months after, on May 10, 2014, Mr. Banwari was murdered in his hometown in a drive-by shooting. Exactly 3 days after, on May 13, 2014, this craven cigarette box bearing the slogan, "Slow and Painful Death," was deposited at my gate. Here is an interesting fact. Before May 13 and since May 13, I have never seen another box like this. No one in my family smokes, and one DSP at the police station says she has never seen a cigarette box bearing this slogan. Search on the World Wide Web has not revealed a similar image showing that this is an approved slogan on the Craven Aid package in Jamaica. So if it is, I am yet to see it. On May 26, 2014, around 3:38 p.m., a strange man enters the pathway and heads to a section of my fence. Approximately 3 minutes later, another male on bicycle approaches and apparently hands the first man something. After a few minutes, the cyclist leaves. Shortly after, the first male leaves while adjusting his pants and belt. What did he leave behind? I reveal his atrocity. Please note I was not home at the time when all of this was taking place. However, upon arriving home that said day, a woman approaches as I am closing my gate. She repeatedly calls out her man at lot 298 with the words, "I want to F you." Who was this man? This male who was not in school uniform at the time. How do they provide notice of their atrocious behavior proving that their actions are premeditated? That will be discussed in another video. 3 days later, on May 29, 2014, this perp enters a pathway at 3:13 p.m. and heads directly to the same spot where the man on the 26th defecated. If you notice the red arrow here, which shows the man does not pass until some 31 seconds later. What took him so long? Take note of his hands and body movement. I was once asked by a private investigator if they were urinating on the wall. At the time, I was not paying attention. Since the murder of Mr. Bunwari, I noticed their deliberate and frequent urination on the fence. What is the gang symbolism of urinating on the wall of premises? Is it a sign of planned murder of the occupants? Various sources indicate that gangs use hand signals to convey messages. Here is a sign revealed by this perpetrator. Notice here, number 2 comes before number 1. On June 21, 2014, mess of all kinds were thrown on my fence and house while I was not at home. This is consistent with the fake vet threat that I should watch and see what they do to my property when I'm gone to work. On June 26, 2014, at around 10 p.m., a strange van drove to my gate and just parked. Without turning off the engine, 3 men alighted. They circled the van and went to the side of the house via the passageway. They did not leave until I sounded an alarm. What do these events reveal to you? Are these people not extremely debased in their thoughts and action? If these people stoop to such low levels of behavior, are they not capable of murder? But the question, who really is my neighbor, becomes more relevant today as more people are being murdered by their neighbors. What is the link between this woman, the Grand Vatara, and Blackwood Garden, Old Harbour Bay? What does extortion have to do with property damage and garbage? What do various sources say about the gang initiation process? Join me in my quest for justice as these and other questions are answered in Who Really Is My Neighbor? Part 1.